Hey guys, it's Vinyl Man Jebb, and today on the Jebb and Greencast we had Frankie Siragusa come on, just a really more of a chat than an interview. We're technically on break, but we wanted to do a cool little chat with Frankie Siragusa since he was one of our guests that was on the list before we decided to take a break. So we had him come on and do a little bit of a chat with us, which led to a very cool interview that's coming up. I'm not going to spoil any details, that'll be coming up next after this one, so we do have another interview coming for you guys before we're officially kind of on break. We never get to do, we say we're on break and then all of a sudden it's coming back. But we're happy to be here, happy to do what we do, so that's why we're never really on break. But we're starting to get used to taking breaks and not getting burnt out as much. But enjoy Frankie Siragusa of the Posies. Frankie also is a really good solo artist on his own and done so much. We've talked a lot in this whole episode just about life in general and his music. Enjoy.
Pacing left to right, I should find a better way to explain. I have taken aim at my given name. Who cares? I don't see how I compare when I see a photograph. I'm much more than that. My thinking never ends. I think I pretend it doesn't hurt in any way. I'm just trying to be okay. There are many sides, up, down, light and shadow, fading out, fading. I know you need me to illuminate. No matter how hard I try, the void never leaves my side. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's you. It usually has something to do with blood I don't recognize. After all, we're on different sides. I'm tired and I don't care. I have too much up in the air. There are many sides. Here, there, light and shadow, casting out. I kind of need you to reciprocate. Light and shadows running out. I know you need me to use. What did you say? What can I say? What did you say? What can I say? What did you say? What can I say? What did you say? What can I say?
kind of unusual venues, non-venues, but
Unlikely
what
places,
the
if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlikely places popping rock radio.
that worked out. Yeah, our marketing was on point. And so what happened immediately following that show was that there was recording that I guess John and Ken got hired to do or something at that studio for somebody who was at that show. So after the show, they're doing a session, and I'm just kind of hanging out. But it was kind of those guys never sleep, and by default I don't either. It seems like it's just always working. So it was really fun actually to. And that wasn't the first time they did that. I think we also did it in Boise or somewhere where I guess again maybe in Boston or something. There's just always something going on. Really fun.
Yeah, it must have been real fun.
Never a dull moment with the trio.
I mean, my like I remember seeing like we went for the Toad show and it was like I don't know. I was buying tickets and you were like, "What are you doing? Why are you buying tickets?" I'm like, I'm so used to like what I'm programmed here to do. And you're like, "It's on the house," and I'm like, "What?"
I feel like the Posies owe you a monthly fee for storing all of our rare B-sides and stuff.
Boy.
Like
I have
there's a couple.
The box set. I got it. I have it was signed by Ken.
Oh man,
he brought it to a show and he was like, "Hey, you got $70?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, yes.
Yeah, but I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. It's funny that you bring up everything about the B-sides because when John was in Philly in 2018 and he was staying in my house for a couple of days, he was just flabbergasted at all the stuff that I had on my computer from like all like the early Posies gigs and stuff like that.
That's
and
awesome.
The B-sides that even he doesn't remember. Like I had like a lot of stuff from The Perfect Size and 23 Below.
Oh yeah, I've got those things too. I don't think the guys know of my collection. I try to keep it hidden when they visit, so it's not weird.
Yeah, I have some.
Yeah,
I have stuff. I love the group. I love that Dear 23 mailing list group. They are phenomenal. I have made so many friends through that group. And Frankie, that's the day I remember you were like, "Can you post for me in there?" And I'm like, and it's just it's an experience.
So great.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, because we did Change of Seasons, and I'm on some of this new EP because I'm still mixing
Yep.
a couple songs off
You'll
of that.
be on the
One with
so
Ken, by
actually
the way.
Tyler, what I'm doing with that, and Frankie Isolated Do is on this as well. Also, it got released on a Greatest Hits. The song is just going to keep getting re-released. It's you know how Grand Funk Railroad had that one song that was on every album. That's what I'm doing. Isolated Do is going to be on everything.
Nice.
It's a good song, man.
Amazing.
It fits these times too well, and it's just I keep writing, and it's just something that that song alone, it's like, ooh, that's just a good song. And the fact that it mentions the Posies and we steal, Take Me Back right in there. I wrote that right in on purpose. And my dad was always wondering, who the hell writes about Klaatu? Like, no one knows these guys. And then there's me who's like, it just worked in the rhyme scheme. It worked. And then the Klaatu guys reached out to me, and we got to work with Terry, who's on the B-side of Change of Seasons. So now Arthur Roberts can say he
awesome.
worked with one of the Klaatu guys and the kid that got them together. I feel like I'm the guy that gets everybody together. Like, that's my job in life. That I bring higher connections to each other. So I wanted to do a side podcast for a little bit and do like guest co-hosts. That's my idea. And have like,
oh, cool.
So like have like, say for example, we have you, and then have somebody else on the show to interview. So you get like, it's just fun, and it's just something like this. But you get, this person now has a connection with somebody they never thought they'd have a connection with, and I kind of want to do that because nobody does that. They're all in their tight knit little communities, and they don't want to say, "Hey, I'll help you." And then there's people like the Posies group, like again that Dear 23. Everybody's been so cool. And like I've met some really
everyone
cool.
there.
Yeah, shout out to.
I've met so much people through the Posies, like so many great friends, you included, man. But
dude, I met you through a YouTube comment, and we became co-hosts for a podcast. It's insane. It was on a comment, I think, wasn't it, for one of the box set B-sides for the Posies? I mean, like.
Oh yeah, because I used to have those on my YouTube channel at one point.
That's funny. I laugh because it's like,
well, I'll gladly co-host with you. I'll be sure to come up with all the invasive, inappropriate questions that they'll feel uncomfortable answering.
I heard you said these things in public and off the record, but on the record at the same time. I want to know why.
Yeah. Frankie got the scoop.
Dude. I remember when we had Eric Dover on this show. I kind of like this platform is a lot easier. I feel more relaxed too. God.
Yeah.
I like when we had Eric Dover on the show, and Tyler was a part of trying to get that, and then he couldn't make it. I was like, damn. But Eric,
Oh,
when
God,
Eric
he
came
still
on,
hasn't accepted my friend request.
oh boy, Eric, come on! Shout out to Eric Dover. But
Oh, by the way, Frankie,
mhm.
good work on the Licorice Quartet live stream you guys did a while
yeah,
back.
oh yeah, Hell
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, despite the tech issues, it was still a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you that's like exactly what you don't want to have happen is, after weeks of testing and getting everything situated so we knew the audio was going to be good, within 2 minutes it was, disaster zone. But we got it on, and obviously the guys are have no shortage of stories surrounding, the making of the record and stuff. So I'm glad it worked out. I actually don't even remember how it came out because I was just troubleshooting a good half of the time. So I'm glad to hear that feedback that you enjoyed it.
It was good. It was good in the second half, I will say that. But also, I like playing with the stems by myself. Just listening to them one by one.
Yeah.
But just hearing the guys just talk about it, and you included, for an hour straight.
That's awesome.
That was just so good. I would love it if like you, John, and Ken did something like that someday.
Do it.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. And I have to say, like, as not only am I a huge Posies fan growing up, and still, Jellyfish was obviously part of that too. I was in the Bay Area, so they were kind of my local band, but they were. And I actually did get to see them twice, which was, I feel so fortunate to have done so since they were only around for a few years. Getting to work with them was just in concept, just this idea that they were going to be coming in was almost good enough.
That's crazy.
Just that idea of like, oh, wow. But then actually being there and watching their process and what each individual member uniquely brings to the table. That just in general, not just them, but also working with John and Ken. And, I'm lucky to have the list of collaborators that I have. When you have that one-on-one with their process, it's kind of impossible for that to not become yet another influence in one way or the other, whether it's how to arrange something or how to approach a part, or just even their approach to playing gives you ideas, so it's almost like you're compiling this ultimate notebook of how to make a record, from all these different, which I think actually would be a really interesting book or something, to just kind of have this
write one, Frank.
Rolodex of,
I started mine, even though I'm like 21. I just wanted to write down things I didn't want to forget, because I think every time I've read a quote somewhere that every time you remember something, you forget it more. And I was like, that's an interesting way of thinking. Now I'm going to forget that quote because I mentioned it again. But anyway, but I started writing just the little stuff down. Because I'll never forget, like being like 17 and Ken just being like, yeah, I'll do an interview with you. And never knowing it was going to lead me to this exact moment I'm talking with you. But it did lead me to be able to have such friends.
Led you to having a co-host.
I know, it's nuts.
Podcast.
I really, I am so happy where we got, and a friend in Ken. You got a friend in Ken, but John too.
Well, you mentioned friends. That's arguably the best part. And Licorice Quartet included, because I'm on, a call with them twice a week, because I kind of help them with project managing their releases now, in addition to having worked on their records, and so. We're just kind of on the level, and we talk to each other about, just regular life stuff. And sometimes I do kind of come back to the reality of the fact that I'm talking with these guys that I really look up to, and the friendship is the best part. And alongside that, there's no shortage of heroes that people meet where it becomes a really awful experience, and it kind of taints the music. I would imagine, well, I don't want to name anybody, but there's
I know
plenty of people in the business that you it would just ruin the whole magic.
Like my uncle says
with
it
John,
best.
Ken.
I would never want to meet Jimmy Page. He goes, I'd never want to meet Jimmy Page because I love him so much. And he goes, it would be, even if he's a nice person, if he wasn't, the off chance that he wasn't, it would kill me. And I'm like, that
you might be meeting him on a off moment.
Day.
That's always possible. But with all these guys, John, Ken, Tim, Eric, and Roger, just the best people that I have the pleasure to work with and call friends of mine. It's just totally incredible and nuts.
John and Ken have been nothing but the best to me every time I've seen them.
Yeah.
Even because I've seen both of them solo technically, because John did sort of like a brief solo show at the School of Rock in Fort Washington that was previously employed at, and then I saw Ken at the Gradwell House last year, so we're 2 years ago technically.
I mean, I will never forget the moment I got to finally see them. Like, I knew Ken, but I didn't know John. And John comes up to me and he says my full name. And my dad's trying to tell him who I am. And he looks at my dad. He goes, I know who he is. My dad won't forget that moment. My dad always goes, I can't believe that. He goes, these are people I listened to in the 90s. My dad loved the Posies. And he liked them because he grew up with the Beatles. So he had that kind of taste for that power pop. And when he found them, it was like, oh, boy, this is everything. And I love that they never stuck to one thing. I just love that. But that moment when John came out and he was like shaking my hand, he actually even called Tyler on his phone and he goes, I have a surprise for you. I'm like, what the? He's giving me his phone now? What is this?
Oh,
and
man.
I requested open every window.
That.
I requested open every window. I requested some of the oddities, and they played every single one. And it was the people next to me that were there, like, how does this kid of 18 know this shit? It was like, what? It was awesome.
Yeah.
I met Dave Tolar that night.
I got a good meeting the band story for the first time real quick if I can go over it. So
yeah, go for it.
So back to the Gradwell House show that you guys did in 2016. So me and my aunt, I was like, of course I've been a little bit nervous meeting you guys for the first time. Like, I was hyping myself up all day because I've been corresponding with John and Ken since at least 2012. So it was a good 4 years prior that I've known them online, but haven't actually met them in person. And I was like, oh my God, are they going to know who I am? Are they going to recognize me at all? As soon as I get into the studio and there's someone who's taking names for attendance and everything, and John just so happens to hear me say my name, and he's like, holy shit, Tyler Green's here. Come give me a hug, man. And I'm like, my brain is just hot wiring because I just couldn't believe that this well-known musician, this critically acclaimed musician, knows this 19-year-old dude from Philadelphia who bugs him on occasion. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just such a huge fucking moment for me. I will forever treasure that night. Just goddamn.
I mean, and then having the solo Ken shows is insane up here. Like, meeting his family, actually, his dad and stuff. And I had his shoes, and his father's like, what do you have now?
Oh, yeah.
What do you have now? And I'm like, I will always be known as the kid with Ken's shoes now, and it won't go away. I will be that guy in the Posies fandoms. I'll be the one that's you see all these Reddit posts, the weird, strange meme kid. It's like, no, I'm the rare, strange Ken shoe kid. But it's just, and the incredibleness of this one band has caused me to find other bands, who has caused me to find other connections within this whole circle, and I have made so many great friends because of the band. And then what's one thing to like a band and make friends on the same level with the band, but all of a sudden you're hanging out. I mean, I have to shout out to Dean and Shelley for their wedding, having the Posies play their wedding with John Bryan there. I was there.
Gosh.
I'm a kid. I'm a little kid. I'm 18. I'm adult, but I'm a kid in the head, and I'm there. Barely knew Shelley for a week and Dean, and they're like,
that was the one.
Want to come? And I'm like, what? I'm like, sure. I'm like, sure. Oh God. And I'm sitting there in the audience with Mike.
That was
and
the
Dave.
one show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Frankie.
no
worries.
Delay. Sorry.
Yeah, we have a little.
Well, I was going to say that that was the one show. I was so stoked that they were reuniting, because I actually never got to see the original lineup. So when they came through LA, I was so excited to go see it. I was, of course, supportive and all that stuff. But when I saw that they did a show where John Bryan sat in with them, I was like, oh man, that one hurts. That's
and there's a kid
John
there.
Bryan's
But the worst,
one of my.
the worst part is there's.
I'm
a
like,
kid
I
there.
would have bought my plane ticket. just let me know, man. I would have flown out for that.
Dude,
even if
that
I'm just
call,
in the audience,
that
it's just
call. I was sitting in the college cafeteria. I usually play guitar when I was going to college. Well, surprise there. But I usually sit in the caf. Ken texted me, and I put the guitar down, and my friends are looking at me like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I'm like, "You don't understand right now. I just got invited to a private show for like my all-time favorite band from Ken himself." And I was like, so I told my dad, and of course the first thing my dad's thinking, and I'm thinking, how much are tickets? Because it's just how we are, And it's like, it's a wedding thing. It's like, we could just go. And the worst part of it is I never got to talk to John Bryan, and that is my biggest regret. And I told you already. I easily could have said hi to him, but I was so infatuated with the band that I knew, hey, I'm there for them. That's why they invited me. But it's just to know. And then now I have I went to Dean's house. I've been in a studio. I'm actually opening for Dean and Shelley now. They recommended me, which is insane.
Cool.
I can't get over that.
Congrats.
Because they're my heroes. They're people I look up to that I can actually go see all the time. And Rich Dart is playing with them, the touring drummer for the Monkees. And I'm also scoring him in studio. Little tidbit. Going into studio with him on the 22nd.
That's
and
awesome.
We're doing a song called "I Need a Break," which is going to be the other leading single for this album that's coming out. So Isolated Do, Cornered Room, and that's one will be the 3 singles from that album. And then the album, it's just a lot of money. It's a lot more than I expected, but I'm having a good time.
I know that all too well.
Yeah.
Dean and Shelley are so sweet. Just can't say enough great things about them. They're, like I was saying earlier, I kind of have trouble with names, but didn't have trouble with Dean and Shelley.
They know them.
Just absolutely amazing people to meet. I mean, that's the really great thing too, is, it was already intimidating enough to kind of join one of my favorite bands and just wonder how's it going to be being with John and Ken? Are they, are we going to get along? Is it going to, what's it going to be like? But the other half of that was, the Posies fans. What's that going to be like? Or, are they going to like me? Am I going to like them? Is it going to be weird? And it's like, man, I don't think that there's one Posies fan that I met that it was a weird or slightly off experience. It's just always been like, it's just, it for some reason, is like a magnet for really down to earth, cool people. Yeah, no,
it's
it really
family.
is.
It really
like
is.
That.
Absolutely.
I think that,
man,
and I think that's partly due to how John and Ken operate, because they don't really keep themselves too separate. They're not
brothers.
really withdrawn. They're very inclusive with their fans. So I think that kind of fosters that very comfortable interaction. And then, most of the fans become people that we remember and hang out with after the shows, and just makes the whole thing way better, than most shows you might play with other bands.
I mean, I want to talk about people and personalities, and Ken's great. Ken is amazing, and he's done so much for me, but I just wanted to spotlight something John did recently. I think, Frankie, I told you, and Tyler, I told you. I was down and out. I was out. These past couple weeks have been brutal, and everything's just getting worse, and it's just like, I felt finally, like, at least with the music, it's always the days I'm not listening to music I'm upset. I noticed that. It's music that heals. And it's the days that I'm not listening to music I get hurt. But John reached out to me, and he gave me a nice smack in the head, like, you got this, man, like a nice pump up speech. And he told me where he comes from, and he said, sometimes you write the best songs from it, but it does suck. And I was just like, you know what? And then I told, after the call was done, and I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, this is why I have like idolized these guys, because I don't,
damn straight.
It's not the facts that like you want to be exactly like them. I admire what they do, but I idolize that John took time out of his day to call me to make sure I was okay. Nobody does that. and Frank, you've done that for me too. With the book and everything. It's
they're
like
just so great dudes.
It's like you guys, you have like this perfect like bound, and it's like and anybody that writes differently or anything, it's like, no, you just don't know them like we do. You just don't.
Yeah, I think there was. I can totally relate to that, because that's kind of how it is in the band too. It doesn't get tense. It's not weird. It's not contentious. It's just very warm, And you said it right, like brothers. That's how it feels. It's friends doesn't quite
It's too much to be
identify
identified as friends,
the connection, And it's with both of those guys. I mean, I've known Ken a little bit longer, but I could say I'm, equally close to both of them. And it's, yeah, I mean, this has become a very sentimental conversation, but why not?
Why not?
It's just been really wonderful.
But still, it's
Sure.
very amazing for me to think about how this band that I only knew like 2 songs from because they had like the sample songs on my iPod turned into just this huge thing where I am talking to you 3 today. It's
like
incredible, and I've made so many friends. I've done so much with my life. I've taken a career path because of these guys. Like,
and you're doing fantastic, man. You're doing some really cool stuff. We all are, and it's just all 3 of us.
yeah,
Like, we're
really,
just
thank you so much.
we're all at different areas of our life. All different times, and it's like it's
even if
cool.
things have sort of been at a standstill with me and like my mixing mastering career, I'm still happy with what I've done so far because I've gotten
You should be very proud.
because I got to do Change of Seasons. That was like
thank you.
huge highlight.
I
for
can't
me.
believe we pulled that off. Is that one
we
was,
worked with Lisa Michaels,
Arthur
Tom
Roberts.
Tom Richards. Shout
I think
out
the
to
guy
him.
that a lot of people don't know is Rick Roberts, Arthur Roberts.
Yeah. Shout out to Lisa and Tom. They're a really good power couple.
I'll add on that. It's inspiring, kind of watching how you guys are navigating networking, relationship building, collaboration, and all that stuff. I mean, you guys have 20 years on me. I think I might have been, I don't know, 32 or something when I wrote my first email to Ken. And that was really kind of what started it all. I mean, all of it, including the Licorice Quartet, I don't think would have come about, without that one email to Ken. Because, obviously being in the Posies orbit, it gave me something to work with when I was writing people like Roger or whatever, to just say, hey, this is what I'm a part of. Would you want to work together somehow? And so what I'm watching you guys do is exactly that, but just with a 20-year head start, and it's just freaking awesome.
Sometimes
It's like
I forget
can't.
that, man. I think I forget.
Yeah, it's
that sometimes it needs to come to a break because I've done so much, and it's like
You
I
should take a
forget.
vacation, man. Take it from me. You have
Probably should.
plenty of time.
Yeah, it's hard for me.
It's
though.
awesome though. What you guys are just the fact that you it's just even taking that step to just go, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and write somebody that's in a band that I love and just see if they'll work with me. I mean, that just takes a lot of guts.
It does, and I always forget.
Agreed.
And Tyler, you know me. I'll reach out to anybody, and then Tyler, I remember the one time you're like, "Yo, there's a step process." I'm like, "You're right, but skip the step process. I'm just gonna go right to the person." And
I will admit I've been a very huge stickler about how I go.
Yeah, and it's all right.
Towards contacting people because
then
I
there's
don't
just
want
me.
to get
Sure.
I don't want to get on their bad side.
And then there's just me, who I think one person I might have been on their bad side, and I feel so bad because I'm a huge fan. And it's like, damn, I might have screwed up, but I'm not sure if I did. It might just be that he's busy.
I think those are the things you just let it roll off because sometimes that forwardness isn't for everybody, and that's okay. I think it's better to take your shot, and I think. But Jeremy, I got a little side note for you, and
Okay.
I was actually secretly really happy about this. But
Okay.
you did your interview eventually with Eric of the Licorice
Yes.
Quartet. And you got the exclusive accidentally of like what the
I know.
band's name was.
I know.
And
I was flipping my shit. I was like, "You sure this is okay?" I was like,
Well, I was kind of involved in a conversation that
yeah.
kind of highlighted like that was kind of an oops.
Oh, boy.
But see, I didn't say anything, but I was kind of smiling inside because I'm like, yeah, Jeremy, go and get it, man. Like you got the exclusive.
Does Roger know me
It doesn't
for
matter.
a bad thing now?
Doesn't matter. No.
All right, good. Because I know he knows Isolated too. I think he even checked out my cover of Jellyfish from my Future album. I think he actually checked it out.
Just the one.
They're pretty good
interview
about
I had
that.
to miss out on. That
I know,
day.
Tyler. You were like, "Oh, you were." I was upset for you because it was like, dude.
Oh, it's okay.
I was like,
man. Don't
damn,
worry
dude, that was
about
like our best. It's our most popular one too, and I think it's because of that. Oops, that it's like it skyrocketed to like 700, 800 views. It was like, what? It's the only one that's up that
Yeah,
high.
man.
we've tried. I think we've gotten some cool, like for me, it's not about the views. It's never has been. It's about the connections, because I got to do an album called Future with voice acting with like Pete Donnelly, having Derek Bosch with the Meat Puppets. Like they're voice acting. They're not even playing music on it, but now they're my friends. And it's really cool that like if I message them, they know who I am. I'm just not another person that's in the crowd. And it's kind of a cool feeling, especially Pete Donnelly, because I'm a huge Figs fan. And it's like, and I didn't really know the Figs until my buddy Owen, who does our thumbnails. Hi, Owen. It really got me into them, and it was just something that Owen does more than just the thumbnails. I write music with him too. So I just leave Owen here under the book. He just does the thumbnails, but no, it's
well, I think something that you guys bring is an excitement for the music that you're into that sometimes gets obscured by you would think that social media might highlight people's excitement, but I don't know if it's just that, people are trying to play it cool or whatever, but the fact that your guys' excitement shines through, and I relate to this because I'm very excited to be doing what I do. I think that it all kind of is an energy that artists, like you've mentioned, I really appreciate, because it's kind of rare. And the kind of excitement you guys have, it's not just, hey, I really like what you do. It's like you guys are exclamation point city on that, and that's an amazing thing, because that's how we should all be with music that we love. We should be super excited to be, being able to experience it. But, if you get a chance to meet somebody, without any sort of filter, letting them know just how much they mean to you, I think that's a really awesome thing, and I'm glad that you guys don't hold back.
Because I've reached out to artists before. Again, I choose not to use their name because it's not their fault. It's management's fault. They have management, and management doesn't like their artist being not the way they want. And there's been a couple situations where I had to have my manager reach out and still didn't get a chance to interview these people, because it's like, all right. Actually, at the point in my head, I'm like, maybe I don't want to interview them after all this, because what are they going to say? Is it really going to be them? Stuff like that. And I still like their music. I'm still going to listen to them. I'm still going to support. They're just, on a different level, and I get it.
Well, it's part of the old model where I think the labels and some bands are trying to hold on to that
image,
that mystery.
Yeah.
That,
you know what?
That's social media has cut through and totally annihilated. And there's something kind of fun about that too. I mean, I can't imagine a band like Kiss being interesting at all without that layer.
Mystique.
That just
they're Well, that's why I love Clat too. They came out and people thought they were the freaking Beatles. It was like, that's the coolest thing. And then I talked to Terry about it, and I got like a different perspective. To me, I thought that was a cool thing, but I'm like, wait. And then Terry threw the greatest question, and I did this on the interview on Unlikely Places. It was a different spot. But that interview with Terry blew my mind, because he brought in the whole perspective. Well, here's the deal. We might not have liked it, but would we be talking to you if we didn't have that controversy? And you're like, you're right. I wouldn't really know who you guys are. But at the same time, I've come to respect their music as a separate thing, and I love what Terry's doing as a solo artist right now. Phenomenal stuff. And I can't believe I'm friends with D and Terry from Klaatu, a band that my dad knew about in the 70s. It's like, what? It's like just the coolest stuff. And the fact that I had to be asked to write a bio for myself, and I'm really bad with this stuff, because I'm like, what do I write? Hi, I make music. I'm really bad at this stuff. So I just started putting down my connections, and I started getting people when they post the gig up, not putting my name as Jebb, and it's like really irritating me. And it's like, I don't know if it's I didn't tell them, but it's like the one thing. I'll do free shows, just put my name right, please.
Yeah.
But I prefer paid. Paid is preferred. But I'm only kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
But I need it now, especially now.
It's like the Oneaters or something.
Yes, that thing you do. I just talked to my dad about that.
Doesn't take that much to just get it right, I think.
It's not that hard. And it's like, Jebb is cool. It's Jebb. It's a single name. But for some reason, these promoters, they want to put a full name. They have to. They don't. And it bothers me, because it was funny to me. And I will never be bothered by this. I will laugh at this. Danny Henry was one of our past guests. And after we had the interview with him, kind of just chilled out. And we were talking about stuff, and Danny goes, you roll with anything that comes your way. You, if they call you a band, you're a band now. And I was like, you got a point.
Right.
But what happened was I got played on a big rock station here in Connecticut, Super Snail stupid little song Super Snail is making these airwaves, because you know what it is? It's distraction from what's going on, and it just helped people. And the stupid little song is getting extremely popular, and I'm like, come on. And it's like, Isolated Do, please? Like, other stuff.
Yeah.
But they called us a bit like this band Jebb, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm a band now. Nice to meet you. I am everything. But it's at the same time,
You're
it was
no
like,
longer the sole person. You're just
I'm just
Jebb
a
the
band. But it's sad because like it is a band. You know, Tyler, you're doing drums for me. Owen's doing guitar. You know, anything, writing, music, piano, keyboards, whatever. And Frank, you're on this journey too. And it's just like, I like being called a band, but I also like everybody getting credit. And that's why I can't post my greatest hits to streaming services, because I have to put it under just as Jebb, and that's not fair to everybody that's involved. It's
right.
Everybody deserves. This is why I hate streaming services. I'll shut my mouth and let my songs go up there, but it's screwed up because I really want to put this greatest hits to the world. But I'm not letting someone not get credit for what they've done. It's just not fair, and it's like,
that's a real rare quality.
Yeah, I can't.
We all appreciate that.
Yeah, I can't do it. Like I even told Owen, I said, you're too important. You're the behind the scenes man. A lot of the writing we do together, and Tyler, you're the behind the scenes man too. It's like, oh, where does this come? They need their credit, man. Your friend Jebb isn't
credit
Jebb.
where
it's a
due.
different thing.
Absolutely.
And that's thanks to John Soda James. Like I love how people think I picked that name. They think I'm this like arrogant guy that's like Jebb this, Jebb that. I am not. I actually tend to stay away from stuff like that, and it's just happened that the universe keeps giving me the Jebb name and everything, except the new flyers for shows. Apparently, I guess I'm back to my real name, but
yeah,
it's all good though. And then John called while I was at dinner, and my girlfriend's sitting next to me. And it's one thing to tell someone your connections; it's another thing for it to show and happen. So I was like, "Hey, John, hey John," I was like, "Can you do me a huge favor?" And I'm like, "I know this sounds really weird, but can you just say hi to my girlfriend?" And at first he was like, kind of, makes sense. He was hesitant, and I was like, "She's a Posies fan." He's like, "Oh, okay." It was like this instant like change because I said she's a Posies fan, and then I had her talking, and he just literally was like, "What are you guys eating for dinner?" And I could. But now she's like,
back to business.
She's like, whoa. She's like, whoa, this connect. Ringo covered a Posies song. Like, the Ringo covered Golden Blunders. And she was all freaking out. And I was like, not just that, he's like a known, all this little stuff. And it's just, I like exciting people. But sometimes, having connections that are so large, and like you mentioned before we started recording, it can be like kind of a heavy weight. It's like, oh, this person's so great. Do I deserve them? And it's like, you know what? We're happy just the way you are, too.
I think it all ends up becoming the same thing in the end.
Really,
we've all been in one place or another, and maybe there's some more years on the list, but it's we're all on the level, in one way or another. And I think that's what separates humble artists from the ones that just kind of stay stuck in whatever status they're in. They're not really approachable. I feel like artists don't even really, they stop doing their best work from that place because they kind of just believe their own hype, even if they're right, even if it is, you are,
even if they're right,
whoever, I can't imagine being creative from the same place if you lose that, hey, we're all on the level kind of vibe.
I think
so
Tyler
anyway,
and I are blessed to have what we have, without a doubt.
Strongly agreed, man.
Because
absolutely.
I would never ever go out and say, "Ha, I can interview famous people." Like, I don't even think when I talk to these people they're famous anymore. If we're sitting down and talk, I don't use the word. Is so stupid to me. The word is what society wants you to think, right? But some of these people,
exactly,
they get this title, right, of this fame, and it's true. It's the truth, I'm not. What's to say that the Beatles weren't famous? Like, that's not what I'm saying. But it's the point of like this word puts this like guard up for people, like they're unapproachable, and sometimes you just put that guard down. I mean, I've had people ask me like, "Yo, how do you do this?" Like, and I give the advice. If you want to talk to somebody you care about, even if you don't even want, you just want to message them and say, "Hey, you help me," and they might still read it and not respond, but there's still there's artists out there that would love to hear that. Even people you think that are unapproachable, they might be going through something, and you as a fan might save them. It's a crazy experience. It's a crazy thing to think, but
I also think it's a state of mind too, because there's people who have had actually, you know, quantifiable fame or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, you might get some jock who was really good at football in school, and, you know, 20 years later, they're still living in that hype. So I don't actually think it really
True.
matters what kind of fame or success you get. It really is just a matter of perspective of how you want to relate to other people, you know? And I think, you know, if you actually get that fame, you're on TV or you're, you know, on the radio or whatever, that just aids that state of mind into existence. But, you know, it's still a state of mind at that point. You can sit with that still as a human being that interacts with the world no different, you know,
like you could separate
despite it.
as like another person. So you have that like being, right? And you have that like you know, kind of that's those thoughts, those things, and you come to accept them and say, hey, yeah, I did do that, I should be proud of myself, and they should boost you to a point. But there's a point where you forget that others can achieve a goal and stuff, and could also, because I love boosting others. I get so much joy from boosting others. I don't get joy from boosting myself. Half the time I forget my accomplishments. And I've texted you multiple times, Frank, and you remind me. You're like, hey, you did this. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. But
Yeah,
like,
man.
I forget. And I think, you know, especially having depression and suffering with it. And that's another reason why, you know, I love doing this podcast, and taking a break isn't the end all. You know, Tyler and I aren't, you know, planning to quit this show. There's no way we can't let it go. But there's a way that we just need a break, you know, to say, hey, we want to, you know what it is, I think, and Tyler, you can tell me if I'm wrong. It's to be able to come back to the show and appreciate it for what it is, because the spark that we originally had, we want to keep.
Yeah.
We want to keep that spark.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we decided to take a little break.
And I like this
too,
episode that we're
because-
doing here that's very more of a... It's kind of cool because we started the podcast, you know, we're probably almost on like 70 episodes. I don't even know where we were at. I feel bad. It's just we do them so much. And to be able to start...
like 100
with the
Posies
hype.
We don't even know.
Yeah, right? Be able to start with the Posies hype and end with Posies hype, because that's just, you know, kind of, you know, for now, it's not an ender. But what I'm doing is I'm going to do a few one-off episodes just to kind of make it up with the guys that we had pretty planned in the past. I don't want to just be like, hey, we quit, you know, because we didn't. We're still here. And, you know, stuff like that. So if you guys are listening, this is more like an update episode featuring Frankie. Welcome to our pain.
Well, hey, when you accomplish your break, come back and let me know how you did it, so I can do it.
I don't know how I'm gonna. I don't know how to take a break, Frankie. I don't know.
Magic. We'll figure it out.
We'll
man.
figure it
definitely
out.
Figure it out.
You and I both.
Well, I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on my studio album. I think that's what's gonna let me take a break from the podcasting. Is just focus on that studio album, because it's the funny thing is it's still doing something in the field, so I don't feel like I'm disappointing anybody or myself, because I'm still doing something in the field that I love. And also trying to find a job. I wish my my talents of networking would get me a job. I've been working so hard, calling so many places. It's like, oh my god, it's a horrible time. That's what it is. But
I do want to ask, how are things coming along with the new Posies album?
Good question. We just so, you know, of course, COVID threw everything off, but we were kind of lucky in that the shutdown didn't happen until after our last studio days. There were a couple little things that I think we finished up remotely, but most of the record was already finished. So it was just basically mixing, and I guess the upside to kind of being shut down a little bit was that it gave us time to get that right. And so we've got a few people mixing that. I'm mixing some tracks. And so we're finishing up the last of the last few mixes, and then it's basically setting up the release, which takes way longer than you think. Because the main reason that I think John and Ken want to do this kind of the long way is that you know, when you're making a record and, you know, you got deadlines and you're trying to schedule things, very easily things can turn into like a traffic jam, and something doesn't maybe get executed the way it would had you had a little bit more time, you know. And you kind of just try to do with that what you will. But I think for this one, we just didn't want to have any of that. We wanted to make sure that every little aspect of the release, and that includes touring and stuff, was done to its, you know, fullest extent. So I'm not really sure. We don't have a specific release date in mind. But it's definitely, we're checking in and getting all this stuff situated, and I'm sure we'll start making some announcements at some point here. Some of this is obviously watching the current state of things too, and when things are actually going to fully open up where we can tour it properly. Because I think that's the other thing, we don't want to release it and then just have it sit without tour support. So that's kind of the annoying thing, that it there might be some delay due to that. But it's happening, and it's pretty much finished. And I know that John and Ken, and I can speak for myself, are so happy with it. We're really excited.
I can't wait. Oh God, Sideways was so good. I actually transposed it myself. John gave me permission to cover it.
Nice.
I transposed it myself. So I found the paper. I was going nuts because I spent like hours on it. I found the paper, and I want to cover it at some point, but it won't be as intricate as the like the actual. It'll just be more of a basic kind of. I'm also going to cover John's Wicked World song. I really want to cover that. So I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it on YouTube or if I'm just going to cover it at my live shows. I just want to get more Posies stuff out there at these shows, because the ones with Dean and Shelley, the people there know the Posies, which is like, oh, this kid knows our stuff. I like covering Fan Club too. So, but it's just like,
nice.
Oh man, and it's just.
Well, you mentioned Sideways, and that isn't really. It doesn't really sound like the rest of the record, which is why I think we went with it as a single.
Ooh.
Okay. So, but it was the first song we worked on for the new record, which might be why it's a little different. Because once you start getting into the record and we're sharing songs and stuff, then that starts to dictate what ones go together. Sideways was the first one thrown out, and that one and Dark Side of the Light was 15 minutes later, because we were basically learning these new songs that John and Ken hadn't played for each other, for me, as we were rehearsing for opening for Toad the Wet Sprocket before we had started any session work on the record. We basically were getting ready to.
Oh yeah.
That was so
Toad.
fun.
The Posies and
that
Toad.
was so fun.
My two
Yeah,
favorite
when
bands.
I toured.
When I last saw
What's that?
Ken, he played one of the new songs from the record. He played Dark Side of the Light, and he played another one called Sidewinder that was really good.
Yeah, that's on there.
Yeah, he looked at me when we saw the solo show up in Rhode Island. That's the one I played on stage with him. Oh, I played at the I played a Big Star song with him. I covered September Girls with him at his merch table.
Cool.
At his merch table, and he during the show.
Oh, I saw a video of that.
Yeah. During the show, he was doing the new songs. He turned to me, and I was like, "Are those the new ones?" He just looked at me and just shook his head. He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Awesome!" And I think it was Dark Side, and then it was the other. I don't know what other one he did. I forget.
Sidewinder, I think he said.
Yeah, Sidewinder too. That's awesome.
Yeah, those are
and
the only three ones I've heard so far. So
it was really fun because that was the main reason we got together, was to make the new record. We started it at Ken's studio in Seattle, did a lot of it there, then finished it here at my studio, the Lab in LA. But in between those sessions, we were doing shows. Well, we did the one, I think it was in DC or somewhere like that. Like I said, the one that we were opening for Toad, which, I was a Toad fan in the 90s, so getting to open for them was great. And this was before I joined Tara Lightfoot's band, where we did a whole tour with those guys. So once again, people that I grew up listening to who couldn't be nicer. But the Posies opening show for them was the first time I got to do that. But it was, I think it did kind of add an excitement to the album, because we'd go out and play live. We were being a band, and then come in and kind of have a little bit of that energy. I mean, it was really, really tiring, but in a good way. It was like we were immersed in not just the sessions, but the just being a band, which I think we didn't have at all with Solid States, because I hadn't really joined yet. I was just kind of session drumming and kind of doing things remotely. I know that John and Ken weren't even in the same room, so this kind of gelled a lot more in a live setting. Even though there's a lot of kind of electro things happening, it still got kind of a live feel to it or a live excitement. And it was also kind of nice too to be. I mean, none of us really lived there. I mean, John was living there at the time, but none of us were really in like some sort of home base where we were ultra comfortable. It was more, there were no distractions, you know. That's not something I always have the luxury of, or the guys either, when they're working in their own space. So the fact that you could just wake up and live and breathe the record and then fall asleep to that and do it again the next day, just
dream.
meant all hands on deck.
Well, thank you, Frankie.
I really can't wait to hear it. I know even if
Both
it takes at least some time in the next year that you guys get into touring again, I am totally fine with that because I know it'll always be worth the wait.
Oh yeah.
Just thanks. Yeah,
problem,
I mean, I can't wait.
Oh,
I'd
man.
also like to just commend us for really not. I think we went the whole interview without saying the word COVID.
Well,
I
you
think
just
we used the word
ruined
shutdown,
it.
but I know. Well, I happened to point it out. It was like I was ready for it. I'm like, oh, how many times it turns into like that? I think it was Sesame Street or
Son
something
of a
like
preacher
that. Where
now. Start preaching.
Or it's like
shit.
Pee Wee's Playhouse with the secret word. Today's secret word is.
Speaking
That's
of
a really good idea.
COVID-related stuff, Mick Jagger and Dave Grohl new song is so good. I was freaking out. My dad sent it to me.
Oh, I haven't listened to it
It's
yet.
so good. Check it out.
well, I haven't checked it out.
Easy Sleazy
I will.
by Jagger and Grohl.
Oh, okay.
That's a team. That's a team right there. Jagger's playing guitar. He's playing an SG too. I like it.
Oh, nice.
But I listened to the song, and one of the killer lines from it is just getting the vaccine, Bill Gates in my arm, and I was like, now that's a lyric, Jag. I love that. But no, it's just, man, this whole thing has been, I don't even want to mention it. I was just so happy I pretend that it doesn't even exist anymore. I'm so excited for the gigs that are happening right now. I have 3 gigs coming up that I didn't have the opportunity before. In person, socially distanced. And Connecticut's one of the better states, I think, doing all this stuff, so I haven't had any complaints. I have a girlfriend now, so I got no complaints there. Life has just been very strange. Life is strange.
Yeah, I agree.
That is our last episode for a little bit, and it's the length of what our intro episodes were. I'm really liking this. Our Matt Harris episode was really long, too, and I miss him dearly.
Oh, gosh.
I got to talk to John about that, and it just felt really good that I was able to talk to John, and we had a mutual friend, not just a mutual, like, you know, a band, you know, member. It was a mutual friend. I will never forget when Matt Harris called me the night before the podcast. And he's like, "You just want to talk music?" He's like, "I'm making dinner." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, all right." And we just talked.
That's
it was
awesome.
all off the record stuff.
Oh,
and
man.
I will never forget that. It's just something I will never forget. And that's what this like whole thing about this universe and being the love of one band to loving other bands brought. You know, not just an interview, but someone that actually like called me. You know, it's like I don't even want to delete his number from my phone. I know it kind of sounds weird. This is off the record, but it's just like
I haven't either.
I just want to keep it there as a memory.
The same.
Yeah, I don't.
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
one day someone else will have the number. You know how that works. I don't know how that works. Kind of creepy, actually. But
Well, it's interesting because I never got a chance to actually talk to him on the phone or meet him. I'd seen him play a couple times. The first time I ever saw him play was with Oranger before he had joined the Posies.
oh wow,
Because yet again, Bay Area, so they were from there.
they're awesome.
And you know, we had texted it a couple times, Facebook messaged. We were going to meet up like a few months before because he was in LA doing some sessions just down the street from my house.
Oh boy.
And I was kind of waiting. I was like, hey, I'll drop everything and come have coffee with you or whatever, you know, just like let me know. And, you know, I know how sessions are. So, you know, he didn't have any downtime and that was totally fine. But now I regret not actually just like pushing a little further because, you know, a couple months later, you know, you don't. And I just wish I had gotten a chance to meet him, you know?
I cried, and my dad's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, it's just something that it's like, I know I never met him, but talking to him and like interviewing him, you become closer than a lot of people that might have want to been in your position. And you become a little bit different. And it's just like, just knowing him, it was like, wow, because I'm a big Rocky Erickson fan too. And it was like, wow, you got to work with Rocky. That's pretty freaking sweet. And it's just
it's just the connection that you get with these people is like
and that's
nothing
why I bring
you've
it to
ever
the
had
table,
before.
But I need a co-host. I need you, Tyler, because I need, and we'll have guests too. It's like sometimes I can bring the connection in, but I get so nervous. I get nervous too.
Yeah.
There's times where we've cold feeted, but with the bigger names, I don't as like, I get nervous with smaller names too. Like I don't know how to explain it to people that are like, but are you just ignoring us? It's like, no, I'm nervous that I want to do more for you that I can't do. Like I want to do an interview with you and you get known because of, your music, because I like it. And it's like sometimes I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow, because I don't want to come in with this half-assed attitude of like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't really want to be here today, because that's not fair to the guest, and nor is it fair to anybody listening to the show. I mean, we have a steady following now that actually listen. I see like people actually listen to our episodes, not just for one person. They're listening to our whole show. They're listening for us, and it's like this amazing thing that we didn't have before.
Yeah, it feels great. I never would have fathomed
Me
that something
either.
like that
I
could
was
ever
like,
happen.
I would be totally cool with people coming in and out. Like they see us record, with, hey, somebody they like. And that's usually how podcasts are. And I really got into this one podcast called Straight to Video with Rob Lane. And he's going to be a guest on our show at some point. I have contact with him.
Nice.
Real nice guy. He interviewed Ken. So there was I'm going to ask him if I could ever be on his show. But I asked him that, and he was like, we don't do smaller. But he goes, I like your drive. And he's like, I'm going to check your podcast out. He became a fan of our podcast. And I was like, that's so cool. That like, and then I scored him as a guest. I want to learn about him because he played bass with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup. Like he's been in and out of bands.
Oh, okay.
So he's a really cool dude.
Really? I didn't know that.
Rob Lane's awesome, Tyler. I'll have to send you some of his stuff. But I bought.
I have heard of his podcast. I will check it out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
He's good friends with Ryan Roxy and all those guys. So.
Ooh. Okay. Cool.
He's played with, I think, on a band with him too, which I love because I love Alice Cooper. So I was like, damn. And I've met so many cool people outside of not being able to podcast them, and it's just been an amazing. Like my first ever famous experience was Collective Soul, and it was just like I would love to interview those guys, but it's like I still have that signed set list, and because of them and that whole thing, it's funny how certain things spark certain things, and it's usually the thing that you don't expect to relate to something else. And it's like, but you learn from that moment, and the things that you learn help you for other things. And it was just weird because I met Collective Soul, but then every time I go to a show now, part of me is like, all right, I'm checking all the exits. Like, I'm not a stalker, guys. This is off the record again, but I'm not a stalker. I'm just looking where I can meet these guys and say thank you for being that white noise in my life when I'm really upset. And that's the Posies for me in a nutshell. And that's becoming even more with the new stuff, and especially Solid States. I listen to it a lot, and it's just like incredible work. And there's just so much there's like another artist, Eric Wilson, that I got into. He's an indie artist from Texas that his CD ended up at a flea market I went to, and it was supposed to be a radio promo only, but the radio station went out of business, so they sell the CDs off. And I got his CD, and I found him on Facebook, and I said, I don't usually say this. I was going to write, I don't usually say this about any other band than the Posies, but this is genius work. And I didn't say that though. I was just like, hey, this is really good. And yeah, you're really good. And he sent me a T-shirt of one of the tour shirts from that album's tour. And I'm like,
that's
kidding
awesome.
me? I'm like, it's people like that is how I'm gonna be when if I ever. And I'm not even saying if I make it. I know I'm gonna make it, but it's gonna be from the help of you guys and everybody that's helped us. And it's weird that the podcast is projecting that. I think Shane Tutmarek said it best from Dular when we had him on. He said it best was that keep doing the podcast because that's going to get you to where you want to be in your music. And I was like, you're strange, but that actually makes sense. Like, it's a strange thing to think about, that it's something else that's going to get you there. But it makes sense. All the connections I've had is, Tyler, all of our stuff has been, cool. And Tyler, you're doing work with Lisa now, and you're doing Orbis Max's stuff too, and they were on the podcast.
I'm actually mastering
awesome.
their new single. I'm actually going to send that off in a minute.
Dude,
once we get off, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to hear it, man. It's a good one.
Oh, you better send it to me.
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
Craig's going to send
hear
it to
when
me.
it's out.
Craig keeps sending me the demos all the time. Him and I are in good contact. That's funny.
I relate to, how you're a fan of bands, because I was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing the Posies for the third time in LA at the Viper Room. They were doing Frosting on the Beach in its entirety, but it was with Darius and Matt. And I forget what year it was, but I had seen them 2 times previously, but I'd never really gotten to meet them. So this time, and Viper Room, I don't know if you've ever been there if you've been out this way, but it's a really tiny space and there's no backstage. So you're pretty much guaranteed to meet the
like
people
the
who are
space
playing
here in Hamden. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to finally meet him. It was like a goal. I'm like, I'm going to finally do this. Well, actually, I had met Ken, but I hadn't met John. So John was like, all right, I got to finally meet him. And I was so excited to take a picture with him. This was, I don't think my girlfriend at the time or myself had an iPhone or anything. So I think we had like one of those like, little handheld cameras or whatever. And so I like, I'm like, hey, can I take a picture with you, John? And he's like, sure. So I go to take a picture with him and we can't get the camera to work.
Oh,
and we're there for like 3 minutes. It's like he's getting ready for the show and stuff. He's like, yeah, I'm so sorry, man. I got to run. He's like, but maybe after the show, and we couldn't get the camera to work.
And you're probably like,
still, it's like, I know. I thought I totally lost my chance. It's like, fast forward.
I can't. It's incredible. Your story
Life,
inspires me.
just
amazing. Like
the way life works.
Boy,
is incredible.
Yeah, man. So I think for the next tour, I think we're still going to be doing it as a 3-piece. I think we're going to stay with that format.
I like that.
Good idea.
But it also kind of not to be lame about it, but it just kind of makes things a little bit quicker and
There's no
easier.
more
And
extra mindsets, man. It's just the 3
well,
basics.
I mean, well, sure, but I kind of mean logistically.
Okay.
Like the 3 of us can just kind of go wherever we need to with very little equipment, very little whatever. It makes things cheaper to be able to do smaller shows and to kind of make this stuff a bit more full time, because the Posies before I joined, well, I guess it kind of continued even after I did, but they're not active 24/7. They have their side projects and things. But I think with the band being kind of more lean, just members, equipment, all that stuff, it I think will afford more frequency of the band doing stuff. And obviously the shutdown hurt that, but I think once we get back up with this new record, I kind of envision that it's going to be a bit more ongoing and frequent than it's maybe been in the past.
I can open for you.
Oh man,
you and I
You'll
can
be
do
the
isolated
first to
dude
know.
with the Posies.
Oh man,
that'd be awesome.
Sick.
God, hopefully by then my band will have made a
And
name
then you'll
for
let her know when you're in
themselves.
Philly. Too.
And then we'll open for
know.
you guys, hopefully, fingers
Because
crossed.
Frankie, we talked about it. I like how you worded it when we talked. Again, this is all off the record. I'm actually gonna unhit the record button because
Episode?
yeah, let's do a sign off. Here we go. All right, I just hit re-record, so here we go.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Frankie. It was so great having you on, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank
it
you.
was so great to finally have you on the show.
My pleasure. You guys got my first interview. So, and I think we've been trying to plan it for 2 to 3 years now. So,
We did it.
I guess congrats to all
Hey, I
of
mean,
us
hey,
for
you got
finally doing it.
you got Keith Sledadall on here, so we were supposed to do it with that.
Oh, yeah.
It just kept going.
I
Thank
love
you,
that
Frankie.
guy.
Oh, Keith is awesome.
Yeah, man.
If you ever leave me, I'll be sad and blue. Don't you ever leave me, I'm so in love with you. The birds in the sky would be sad and lonely if they knew that I lost my one and only. They'd be sad if you're bad to me. The leaves on the trees would be softly sighing if they heard from the breeze that you left me crying. They'd be sad. Don't be bad to me. But I know you won't leave me, 'cause you told me so. And I've no intention of letting you go, just as long as you let me know you won't be bad to me. So the birds in the sky won't be sad and lonely, 'cause they know that I got my one and only. They'll be glad you're not bad to me. But I know you won't leave me, 'cause you told me so. And I've no intention of letting you go, just as long as you let me know you won't be bad to me. So the birds in the sky